Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel, Orcs Magic, and it's Jordan here, checking in for yet another Deck Tech Tuesday, and boy do I have a bit of an interesting one for you guys. So this is my blue-white standard mill deck. I'm calling it a mill deck. It has other conditions in there, but let's call it mill. Basically we're using blue-white. This revolves around, to begin with the deck, Felidar Guardian. It is a 4-off in the deck, and it allows us to flicker a non-land permanent. Basically, we are using a lot of bounce effects and flicker effects to trigger mill in a variety of ways. Now, to begin with, these are how we are going to do the mill. The first off and main off is Startled Awake. Now, this is a sorcery speed cast. Your opponent mills 13 cards, which is great. Gets 13 in the bin. Not only that, you can get this out of the graveyard and as a creature to hand. Now, while we may not want to target this with Felidar Guardian, because by actually flickering it when it's in its creature state, it does not come back to the battlefield. So you need to bounce this back to hand, and we have a variety of ways to do that, as we'll see. But one way we are using the Felidar Guardian is to bounce such as Manic Scribe. Now, Manic Scribe is in the battlefield, your opponent mills 3, and if Delirium's been triggered on your end, you then get to also keep milling them 3 on their upkeep, which is fantastic. So, from that, we then get the Master of Inquiries. It's quite straightforward. He's a decent, cheap creature to play. Get energy, and then you can tap and make your opponent mill some. Again, fantastic. The only other creature we're running in this deck is Pilgrim's Eye. This is a 3-off in the deck. Reason why we're running this helps us... how do I describe this as the best way possible? This helps us sort of filter our deck quite nicely. We do have a bit of land in the deck, and ideally we want to be able to cast some of the bigger things or do multiple things in turns, or have mana open. And you can, because we are blinking with Felidar Guardian, it's another source that we can allow to blink, which is rather good. So from that, what other things are we running? Well, to begin with, we're running 2 Crush of Tentacles. So if we have cast a spell and we can surge this out, we bounce all non-land permanents back to the hands, which is great for us, and then we also get an 8/8 octopus token onto the battlefield. Now this is only a sorcery speed, so there's no ways to haste this into play, but you can then start swinging for the hills with an 8/8, and generally it means they're back at by a turn or 2 sort of thing. They're going to have to chump initially and then start going forward with that. We then run 2 Authority of the Consuls. This is early game life gain. Not only that, it's slowing your opponent down, because aggro decks hate this. The Saheeli combo deck hates this. It is a great utility to use, and why not? From this, we then have 1 Aether Meltdown. Quite simply, it is disabling and knocking things out on a vehicle or a creature, but it's also getting us a bit of energy for the Master of Inquiries as well, which is rather useful. We then run 4 Glimmer of Genius. This is quite standard to dig a bit, set things up quite nicely, and get more energy, again, for Master of Inquiries. We then run a 1-off of Dovin Baan. Quite simply, he knocks Planeswalkers off, he turns off creature activated abilities. There's quite a few things in there that he does rather well. He can get you a bit of card draw from it, so a little bit of life as well, but if you can ultimate him, your opponent has to play very wisely about what they are tapping and untapping and various things like that. So that can work quite nicely. After this, we then run a Jace, Unraveler of Secrets. Quite simply card draw. Can bounce things back to hand as well. Obviously, the ultimate is sick. Suddenly being able to counter things. Your opponent has to be able to play 2 spells on a go. If you've got... Oh my god, I could dread to think. If you end up getting Jace, Unraveler of Secrets ultimate and Dovin's ultimate off at the same time. Oh, not only is the first thing countered, they're going to have to pay more mana. It's... Oh, that's not bear... No, it doesn't bear worth thinking of. Anyway. So, last 2 spells we have, these are sort of bounce and flicker effects. We have Alley Evasion, it's generally using Alley Evasion. Now, I like using this to bounce back the creature state of Startled Awake back to hand, because then it gets you another trigger off, and it's only 1 mana. So late game, you can actually theoretically cast the Startled Awake, bring it back, and then flick it back to hand in the same turn, and then the next turn you can cast it again. And this is late game. You've already dug into their library quite a lot, and it can affect the game quite nicely. The other spell that we run is Baral's Expertise. Quite simply, bounce 3 things to hand. 3 creatures, and then you get to cast a spell that is 4 or less, which is Startled Awake. You want this into Startled Awake would be fantastic. In fact, you could bounce Startled Awake back to hand as a creature state, and then fire it off again, which is just horrendously good. From that, moving on to the land, we were on 4 Aether Hub, again, for not really for colour fixing, it's mainly for the energy generation. We were on a 4 off of Port Town, a 1 off of Prairie Stream, then you have 8 islands, and then 4 plains, and then 4 Evolving Wilds. This is mainly so we can get the Delirium trigger going, which is, again, very beneficial for us. Then we move on to the sideboard side of things. Now, sideboard, we go a bit more from a mill deck to a bit more of a control. This is obviously to allow us to get mill pieces down, or general enchantments that are going to help, the Authority of Consuls if we're going against an aggro deck and things like that. So we run a 2 off of Summary Dismissal. Quite obvious for, in fact, that's quite good at the moment for against the Aetherworks deck. Can work quite nicely. The 2 times Disallow. Again, this can work on trigger stacks, activated stacks. It's really good as well. 3 off of Negate. A 2 off of Aether Meltdown. A 2 off of Dispel. A 2 off of Consulate Skygate. This is just early aggressive blocking, just against the aggressive decks. And then we have a 2 off of Void Shatter. So again, this is mainly a big counter sideboard package that you've gone for. Not certainly set in stone. I mean, I probably would say that it's worth maybe looking at adding in a couple more creatures, but I can't quite get there and thinking where we would go from with this deck. But anyway, I'm sure you guys could actually let me know where I've gone wrong in the sideboard, and let me know in the comments below. That'd be great. And yeah, so thank you for tuning into another deck. Hi guys, remember, if you like that video, please smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel. Let's keep the MTG community growing here on YouTube. And from this, please check out our other playlist. We have plenty of other Magic the Gathering content from myself and the other boys at Orcs Head Magic, and we will catch you all very soon.